Hey guys, Adam with Equipment Door. Well, today we're in my truck to start our vehicle EDC series. Now, of course, a purpose of a vehicle is mainly conveyance, to get you to point A to point B. But I really believe that your vehicle and what you keep in your vehicle should be part of your preparedness and self-reliance continuum. So today we're going to talk about what kind of equipment I carry in my vehicle. Hopefully I can share some ideas, and hopefully you guys have some great ideas to offer as well. So great opportunity for some information sharing in reference to what we keep in our vehicle. All right, so the basic stuff that your dad and your granddad always told you to keep in your vehicle, your tire gauge, some local maps of surrounding areas. A lot of people are getting away from that just because of being lackadaisical. Things like OnStar and GPS just really is giving us a confident sense of security in reference to anywhere we go. Nowadays, if I've never been someplace, I don't have to do any research, to get direction or anything. I just basically pick up my droid, just say the name. I don't even have to type it in nowadays. And usually the GPS is pretty accurate and get me there. But what happens if something happens along the way? Be it a winter storm, a bad storm, road closures, I get lost, a mechanical failure in my vehicle. Your GPS is not going to help you out in that. So whatever you have in your vehicle is really going to be the key to if you're going to survive that situation or not, or how comfortable that uncomfortable situation is going to be. So we're going to examine some different stuff that we keep in our vehicle, mainly extra equipment, and how that'll help you out in some kind of preparedness or self-reliance type situation. So stay tuned. All right, guys, so the first thing I'm going to examine in the vehicle is just basically what the Pilot has to offer. All right, now one thing I always tell people about is having good light sources. So no matter if you're the driver or the passenger, I got some of these cheap, $1.50 Walmart flashlights. Now, they're not going to last any extraordinary amount of time. They all run on AAAs. And you know what? If I open the door and somehow they pop out and I don't hear them hit the ground and I lose it, it's not going to be that big of a loss. But I always have a light source handy right then and there. I don't have to go digging through anything. It's always right there. It fits in that area perfectly. If you guys can find a similar area to keep a flashlight in your vehicle, I highly suggest you do it. Also, I always take my field journal, with me. I use this a lot when I'm on the trail, taking notes. If I'm going to, studying something for bushcrafting or, wilderness survival type skills, it's always good to have. This is a Right in the Rain type. Also, since this is the main vehicle for Ace and I got some extra plastic bags in case Ace decides to make a mess someplace. Always got to be responsible for your dog. Okay, as we come in here at the cockpit of our vehicle, of course, we have our clean canteen. Always make sure we fill that up with water. Writing instrument of some sort. In here I have a power inverter, just in case I need to charge something. A pair of binoculars, a redundant phone charger, toothbrush. It's all about dental hygiene, folks. Here we have our other phone charger. We always used to keep our phone charged while the vehicle's running, so we always have the maximum amount of charge. Now, one cool thing I keep in here is one of these bench-made cutting instruments. Now, this might seem like a strange device to be keeping in your vehicle, but seatbelts do get jammed up in vehicular accidents, especially if you have a lot of pressure on them, if you're in a rollover or something like that, and you need to get out of the vehicle. This will keep this in a centralized location that is closed up, so it won't roll around or get flung around. I can always get to it. I can always reach it. So if I need to get a seatbelt cut off, or if I'm a witness to an accident or I'm responding to an accident from my POV, and I want to help assist somebody, that's a lot easier to get in there and take a seatbelt off than a pocket knife. Okay. Now, of course, we have our other flashlight over here in the passenger side, and the glove box. We got our normal stuff, registration, tire gauge, some maps, and all the other good stuff. That's all really the mandatory equipment you should have in your vehicle. But we're talking about equipped to endure, so we're gonna do some extra stuff. We got some treats in the back, so let's go check that out. Well, as you guys can see, I have plenty of room back here for Ace. Now, this bench, this is a Honda Ridgeline, so one good thing about this is a pickup truck, but I can lift up the back seat. It's a quad cab, and I have plenty of room for Ace. We've actually packed this all full of gear for trips, and Ace still had plenty of real estate back here to lay down the whole time, so that was pretty good. Now, as you can also see, I've got quite a few items on here in the passenger side. Now, one thing about this vehicle, this is not a family vehicle. I don't drive my wife and kids around here. My wife has literally been driven in this vehicle one time. We usually take her vehicle, the family mobile, in regards to that. So I usually keep a pretty good amount of stuff packed in here for my trips. Anytime I go out hiking or camping, I'll take my gear. When I get back home, I go through it. Anything that I've used, I replace. Anything I've soiled, I clean. And then I usually throw it right back in my truck. So this is, you know, a little bit better storage area because this is where I'm going to use it the most, is in my vehicle. And then one of those situations where, you know, driving around one day, I got the day off, and I want to, you know, grab the dog and go for a hike. I don't have to run back home and grab any gear. It's already in there. So that happens quite a few times. So this is a M40, but that's more for work. Talk about that kind of stuff later date. This is Ace's little go pack. You guys have seen the video with this. It's got a good amount of equipment in there for a day hike. So if you guys are interested and want that, you guys can check out the videos there. And over here I got my, let's get my Saber Cat out first. If you're a fan of Maxpedition's gear, this is our Maxpedition Saber Cat. We got our Hedgehog Leather Works sheath and a Tom Brown Tracker T1. Waiting to get my Becker BK2 sheath, and I'll probably throw that on there. That one's probably pretty much going to replace my Tom Brown. But you guys have seen all the equipment in this bag. This right here is pretty much my ultralight rig, even though it's, you know, some of the ultralighters go a lot lighter than I do, but for me, it's the minimum equipment I take. This is, you know, I guess you can consider this a bug out type bag. You know, I can skilled enough to do some bushcrafting in this. You know, all I have is a tarp, some bungee cords. You know, there's emergency type blankets and everything. I'd probably, if I just took this out, I'd probably do some kind of, you know, natural debris type shelter, or take this out in a very warm winter situation. This isn't really a winter hiking pack, but this is great. This, along with my Versa shelter, which we'll go over a little bit, is actually a really good setup, low weight. So you guys have seen this. I just leave this in here as is. Then we have Maxpedition Falcon 2. Now, I'll probably do a video on how I have this set up right now. This was actually just kind of oversupplied for a day hike. Mainly I just threw some extra stuff in here to give it some weight for conditioning. This isn't really has any setup for any long-term use. This is just, we did a 5 mile hike up a mountain and then back. So this will help out pretty well if you know, something happened on the trail. But this isn't really meant for overnighter. This is meant in case there's emergency. But these two systems can be worn together. I can actually wear that as a butt pack and throw this on top, and it's pretty comfortable. I've done a couple trips with that. So these together, you know, I could probably go for a long weekend, you know, 3 or 4 days, no problem. These are both great pieces of equipment, and we'll probably have a special video separating this pack by itself to go over the contents for you guys. So these stay in the vehicle. Throw this one up on the headrest so it doesn't slide around. Ace is a really good boy in reference to never chewing my stuff up, you know, knock on wood. And hopefully we won't never have that problem. But I can leave this stuff in here. There are some perishable type things. There's some water in here that I'll need to replace, you know, every couple days or so. I wouldn't leave water in a container with air in it for any extended period of time. But you know, if I did, and it came time for me to drink it, of course I'd have to probably sterilize it at that point. But we'll leave this in all the time. Let's go check out what's in the back of the truck. Now, in the bed of the truck, we keep a 7-gallon, that's filled with water. I have it in an egg type crate, or a milk type container, because I don't want it sliding around and damaging the container itself. As you can see, there's some duct tape on top of that nozzle right there, because the nozzle is reversible. So it's inside there, and I made sure I don't want any dirt or grime in there. So a piece of duct tape works pretty well. It keeps all the road dirt and everything out. You know, I've never had any issue with people taking things out of the bed of my truck in my area. I actually usually keep a cooler in here as well, and I'll throw bottled water and other stuff in there as well, my lunch or whatnot if I'm going away. Never had any issue. If you're in an area you might have an issue, you know, might not want to do that. So, but then my favorite part of the truck is I actually have more storage area. One thing about the Ridgelines is the beds can open this way, or they can open this way. So I'll go ahead and open the bed up that way, and we can still get to our extra equipment up here. So this is the large amount of equipment. We'll go over that right now. All right, guys, so this way I'm able to keep a lot of equipment back here for anytime use. Some of the stuff I very rarely go in here and have to use. Some of the stuff I get in there pretty frequently. For example, these are all Ace's training aids, extra leads, frisbees, balls, collars, all kind of good stuff. Here's his agitation collar. Sometimes I keep his bite sleeve in here as well. We actually were just doing bite work last night, so his sleeve is in the garage. But you know, this is an easy place to store this because Ace and I are always training outside, we're never training inside, so that way I don't have any dog gear junking up the house. A good pair of boots is always a good extra thing to carry. Right now I'm wearing my running shoes, so this is not the kind of footwear that I would want to be going out into the woods with. So I always have an extra pair of boots in my vehicle, some wool socks, just in case I'm expecting some cold weather type situation. These are high-tech boots. They're waterproof. Decent size hiking boots. As you can see, they're pretty dirty. I've been out there before. Always have an extra pair in the vehicle. And maybe we'll do a video here shortly on footwear. You guys have seen the Z-Lite sleeping pad before. If I have to make the back of my truck some kind of makeshift shelter, this is pretty hard material to be sleeping on, so that's why I threw this in there. That way I can still, you know, prone out pretty well and lay down and get some good rest. And this is actually very good to sleep on. You know, I've really been going back and forth whether to cut this in half to make it more compact, because all I probably need is my, you know, my head and my rear on that, and the legs can probably hang off whatever. But we've kept it intact. We've used this a lot. You guys have seen using this in the winter setup with the with our hammock, and that worked out pretty well. Large 12 by 12 tarp. This is an excellent item to have in your vehicle. I actually have I believe I have 4 tarps in this vehicle. You know, I got this one right here, one in my Versa shelter, one in my ultralight kit, and then I have another tarp in here. You never really have too many tarps. So these are some extra Mountain House meals that we didn't use last time that we were camping. Beef stew and spaghetti with meat sauce. This is freeze dry. Just add boiling water, let it set for a while. These are great. These are actually very tasty, so I wouldn't complain about the taste of these at all. These both serve 2, so this is pretty much a day's worth of food right here. You know, it's about 500 calories. I mean, that'd be a low amount of calories, but if you were rationing out your food, that would be better than nothing. Of course, we have our favorite wool pants. I keep these in my vehicle at all times. These pants have probably saved me from hypothermia a couple times. There was a few camping trips I remember hiking back out to my vehicle to grab these because I didn't take these in my pack. You know, if we were short distance car camping, because it was that cold and I knew I wouldn't make it through the night. These are great items. In the wintertime, these are just a must-have, and you know, keep them in the vehicle because you never know. I mean, hypothermia can set in at 50 degrees. So if you're out someplace, even in the summertime, fall or spring, and it starts to rain, you get really wet, can't get a shelter built, something like this is going to retain the heat. It's not going to be around your core, but it's going to be around your legs, and these are very good pants. In here I also have a civilian MRE. They're not as good as the military versions, but the military version can be hard for people to get. These do have the heaters in them, but these are very cheap heaters. They're not the heaters at the wafers. But hey, they're good calories. They don't come as packed with as much stuff, but they're always good, and a buddy gave me this one, so I was happy to take it. All right, next we have a box of Cliff Bars. Awesome snack. I wouldn't consider this really a meal replacement, but they're gonna serve you pretty well. They got the chocolate chip, the peanut butter crunch, and the crunchy peanut butter. So these are pretty tasty. For nutritional values, these go about 250 to 240 to 260 calories a bar, so that's pretty decent. One thing I find funny about these is they're so difficult to chew. I mean, they taste good, don't get me wrong. I think they are an acquired taste, but the chewing alone makes me not want to eat anything else. So all right, I always throw in some the Cutter backyard bug control stuff. This is awesome for car camping. If you're in an unknown area, there's a lot of mosquitoes, other biting insects. You can really just spray this down with your camp. I have some small masks that I use with this as well, so I don't contaminate myself. But this is just a great way to clear away any camp areas. I don't need this for the house. I don't need this for the car. Just make sure that the wind's blowing in the opposite direction of your face. The wind's blowing towards the way you're facing, so it doesn't come back on you. But this is an awesome item. Might want to read up on this and make sure this is something that you want to use. But if you're in a really bad, bug infested area, especially if you're in a situation where you didn't plan to camp out, you don't have any netting, and it's just, I've been to areas where I've seen mosquitoes, they look like floating black figures. They're so dense with bugs. So this is a great item to deal with that situation. We threw in here our RTAC. It's a great camp knife. Leave this in the vehicle just in case. I mean, this is a hell of a chopper. So you can go down there, take down some pretty decent stuff. This also serves as almost a machete if you're ever in some really dense brush. So we like our RTAC. Decent sheath, belt-fed sheath, good to go. Now, we did leave this nice luxury tool in our vehicle from our last long-term camping trip. We had a chainsaw as well, so we were, chopping up big pieces of deadfall. And so if we wanted to split anything, this really did the job. I actually need to take this to the hardware store and have somebody sharpen this bad boy for me. But this maul really, you guys have seen this emergency kit in my my winter series. This one hasn't really changed much. All kind of gadgets and gizmos in here. There's a GPS. Now make sure you always periodically check into your battery operated pieces of equipment to make sure the batteries are still fresh. I have some really heavy gauge trash bags. This is full of tools, wrenches, needle nose pliers, screwdrivers, some other flashlights. I got a little pry bar. This, all kind of great stuff in here. There's also a small little medical kit in there. If I need to grab and go and take this with me, this has a strap. So if I'm not gonna shelter in place, I'm gonna leave my vehicle. So this way I can comfortably carry this on the shoulder if I don't have any of my other equipment. Of course, I would cannibalize as much stuff as I can, so I have some kind of setup and take the best equipment for the job. Okay, you guys have all seen Dave Canterbury's Versus Shelter. This is an awesome system. I bought one of these from Dave when he first started out, and of course Dave's doing dual survival right now. Smart, innovative guy. This setup right here has been the envy of many camping trips with some of my pals, because they weren't familiar with Dave and they just saw all the different things I could do with this kit. It's really good. It's not very heavy. Goes on pretty well. If I carry my Sabercat bag, I can just throw this on my back and it sits right on top of my Sabercat, kind of in the small of my back. So I've even packed some extra stuff in here. At one point I was throwing a Gore-Tex bivvy as well in here, and it was rolling up, so add a little bit more weight, but it did well. Of course, this has got a tarp wool blanket, some tent poles, some bungee cords, some extra 550 cords. So if you guys get a chance, check out Dave's site and check out the Versus Shelter. Great item. This is another extra tarp. This is a smaller one. I think this is like an 8x8. Now, one thing I like to do is I like to go to Walmart every once in a while and see if they have any good little gadgets or gizmos on sale. This is called Just In Case, funny enough. And you see this tray it's built in, so I packed it with some other equipment. This is just a fleece blanket. We've got a couple blankets in the vehicle. You guys have seen this before. This is kind of the AAA case that I've kind of done some modifications on. Basically, there's a small survival kit I packed in here, some flashlights, some glow sticks, some heavy gauge trash bags. This is a traffic vest, high visibility vest. There's some ponchos, some gloves, 550 cord, another small medical kit, a small folding shovel, emergency candles, fire starter, compass, matches, whistle, all kind of good stuff. It's a lot of redundancy here, but basically I've had these kits and I've kind of built them up over the years. All right, back to this Just In Case. This is actually a pretty decent little kit. I think I got it for like 20 bucks at Walmart. It was on a special rack, so I picked it up. Keep some jumper cables in here. Kind of a chintzy toe strap. I got a better toe strap, but extra toe strap won't hurt me. In here we got a fleece blanket, some zip ties, emergency poncho, another little medical kit. We got some road flares that actually suction cup onto the window of your vehicle. A little tire compressor, which I have used. A flashlight and a cone to do some signaling. So I've actually used this kit a couple times. Used the jumper cables quite a few times. Stays nice and organized in here. And that way stuff isn't rattling around in the back. then last but not least, we have our winter emergency box. A lot of this is inspired by David over there at USN ER Doc. So David, thank you again. We kind of took our previous vehicle kit and modified it a little bit. And we got some great items in here. Of course, we got a mag light. Make sure you check this periodically to make sure the batteries are still good to go. Of course, a fire extinguisher. Another traffic vest. Roll of duct tape. Some packets of hand warmers. Another lighter. It's working. This is just, I threw in here some extra linen. You can do all different kind of stuff with this, making some char cloth or whatever. Some glow sticks. A headlamp, very inexpensive headlamp, but I'll tell you, headlamps are awesome, folks. I can't speak highly enough of them. Some really strong rope. Dust mask. I don't see many people carry the dust mask. These are great for any type of situation, be it, you're spraying the bug spray around your camp. If there's an epidemic or pandemic type, flu scenario. Any type of fire. Fire can carry smoke and debris very, very long distances. So if you're in a local, if your area is being evacuated because there's some forest fires or anything like that, this is a great item to keep as well. One leather glove. Well, there's a story behind that one. Here's an assortment of zip ties. Some tan, olive drab, and black, different sizes and thicknesses. Here's some bore patches, but we're not going to talk about firearms today. Folding saw. This is another case I have for the same AAA case before. A little bit different equipment in here, but this is more of the same type of stuff. This is basically if people split up for whatever reason. I know that sounds like a bad idea, but sometimes that might be your only option. So you want to keep one group of people with some extra equipment. This was a gift I got a few years ago, and I just kept it in here. It's actually got a little toolbox in here with a adjustable wrench, Phillips flathead screwdriver, some Allen wrenches, a pair of pliers, and a hammer. It actually plugs into the electrical socket in your vehicle, or takes some D-cell batteries. This will pulsate, and this is a flashlight, and of course that's reflecting. Very inexpensive Walmart special. I like buying those little things because they're not much money, and if they work, if the quality is pretty good, it's not a bad buy. Here's our original poor man's lantern / stove. We did try this out pretty recently, and unfortunately, I guess being jostled in the box, the lid has broke. So it did dry out, but the toilet paper's still in there. If we had an extra bottle of alcohol with us, it'd be no issue to reignite this stuff. It's actually really good tinder right now if we need to cannibalize it. But Dave gave us the idea of making a paint can one. Put a lighter in there with some duct tape and a key, and I'll show you right now. It is working. We just tested it out the other day. So this has been in here since the winter time. There we go. No. There we go. You can't really see the flame. There's a little bit of orange. So that's working pretty well. Piece of duct tape right here, so we have the lighter and the key readily available. Now, one thing I haven't put in here is an extra bottle of alcohol. David lives in a lot colder area than I do, so I can see how he justifies a space. One of these days we'll throw that in here, but for right now this is perfect for us. Of course, we got another 8 by 10 foot tarp. Can never have too many tarps. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, I have 5 tarps in this vehicle right now. Some cutter with deets, electrical tape, a heavy duty tow strap, and then of course some road flares. Always important. So great amount of stuff in here. Let me pack this stuff right up and I'll be right back with you guys. Hop. Good boy. All right. Hey guys, hope that gave you some good ideas. Hey, Platts. Well guys, I hope that gave you some ideas. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can reach me at adam@encryptanddoor.com. You guys take care. Be safe out there. And remember, if you're not always prepared, you're never prepared. Thanks. Good job, buddy. Okay.